Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back. We have a tremendous stream planned today. We're going back to Fulton County. Fani Willis is dressed in purple, and she looks ridiculous. We're going to go through what her meltdown is now. There was a new bill that passed in the Georgia Senate that makes Fani's future questionable, and she's not happy about it at all. So we'll debrief on that one. See what the latest is on the election fraud saga that is permeating all of America, and check in on the SAVE Act, because we've got even more senators now that are coming under significant pressure from Americans. We've got Cornyn, we've got Hawley, and more all queued up to see what the holdup is on getting the Save America Act passed. We've got clear evidence of voter fraud all over the country, but they don't want to do anything about it. We'll try to figure out why, but it is going to be a beautiful first segment before we turn our attention over to the Supreme Court. A big appeal dropped from the Trump DOJ going up to SCOTUS saying, enough with the stoppage of the cancellation of TPS status. Temporary protected status means temporary. Kristi Noem, when she was running DHS, said, we're done. We are canceling this scam that has been going on in perpetuity forever. And we'll go through the brief that's now knocking on the door of John Roberts and the rest of them up there at SCOTUS. We also have this interesting scam that was developed from another woman who said that she was in custody for like 43 hours. Turns out she wasn't. Homeland is calling her out, saying she's very inaccurate about that. And more thoughts on Mullin, Markwayne Mullin, who is now going to be taking over Homeland, all coming up. It's going to be a beautiful day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing to our channel if you haven't already done that. My name's Robert Gouveia, formerly practicing criminal defense attorney. And a little housekeeping note, we're going to be back here tomorrow early. We're going to be packing up and heading out of town for DC as the move gets underway. So that's going to be happening tomorrow afternoon. And so we'll be here early to close out the week on Friday. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully you can join us back here. Should be about 12 noon Eastern time if you care to join us live. But without any further ado, looks like the tubes are working. That's tremendous news. That means we can get into it starting right now. Fani Willis is back. She's dressed in purple. If you couldn't tell, she wanted to make sure you didn't miss it. That's why she slapped a coat of paint right on her eyelids. And we'll see what she's so upset about. You can see she was out in Georgia for about 2 minutes in this clip, just losing it, constantly just screaming and shouting about clown shows, something like this is racism, get your name out my mouth, or something like that. All sorts of nonsense that we'll parse through in a minute. But of course, the question is, what is she so upset about? Golly. Well, the truth is the Georgia Senate just passed this bill, and this bill is not good news for her. You can see the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is saying Fani Willis loses her mind, blasts the Georgia Senate panel again. It's been a recurring theme with her, constantly upset, saying that they're attacking her for no good reason. We know what the reason is. It's because she was banging her special counsel as they were indicting each other after they rigged their office to prosecute the president and 18 other co-defendants. So here's the background on this before we see what Fani was screeching about. You can see here, David Wickard writing this, that Fani went back to the Georgia State Capitol. It's International Women's Month or something. And she was unloading, calling what the Georgia Senate is doing a politically motivated clown show. And for a second, I thought that was your prosecution. You just led an entire clown show. She bursted into the court to try to explain her love affair. And that time she was dressed in pink. We thought she was the Kool-Aid guy. So now she's back. She said, if you think you're going to impact me by threats, by legislation or anything else, you're not. And had a hard time on her attempt to try to prosecute the president. This was the first time that she went back to the Capitol since she testified back in December. She had a tough time during that one as well. The committee spent 2 years investigating her misconduct, and now she's not wanting it to stick. 4 guilty pleas before she was ultimately booted off. She was disqualified. And the big problem is this. Senate Bill 605 is now passed out in Georgia. It establishes new grounds for disciplining and removing DAs. Uh-oh, Fani could get thrown out of office. The new criteria include making charging decisions based on undisclosed conflict of interest. So if you're prosecuting somebody like President Trump and the 18 co-defendants because you are taking guidance from the January 6th Select Committee, from Biden's White House counsel, and from Jack Smith's thugs and goons, that would be a problem. That's a conflict of interest. You haven't done your own investigation. You hired your lover. You paid him $700,000. A portion of that money came back to your benefit because he took you on cruises. He took you to Napa Valley, to cabins outside of Georgia. Gross. The new criteria include that failure to comply with Georgia's Code of Professional Conduct and also failure to comply with state open records request. And this is something that they have been battling with her about over a long time. They say, give us your records. If you didn't do anything nefarious, if you were not acting with a noxious odor, as Judge McAfee called it, or any impropriety, give us your files and exonerate yourself. But she's not willing to do that. On Friday, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones hailed the measure as a needed response to Fani's lawfare against President Trump and his allies, saying the bill would give the state and the prosecution attorney qualification commission, quote, the ability to go after DAs who refuse to be transparent, who engage in unprofessional attorney conduct, and who don't take seriously their duties to victims of crimes. Now, the Senate rejected a second proposal, which would have created statewide grand juries to handle these types of things. And in her December testimony, she screamed at the Senate panel. Numerous members of the committee are also running for higher office. We've got Bill Cowsert and others. But earlier this week, she was out scolding them again. She said, they're mad I have the audacity to believe and practice the principle that no one is above or below the law. She obviously thinks she's very above the law. That's why she can hire her lover and pay him a boatload of money. But this was the clip from the event. And you can see, we'll listen to this in chunks because we can't take too much Fani in one go. But here, that's what Nathan said. But here is the exchange. She went up to the podium and it's Women's Day. So they brought out, I guess, the purple makeup or something. And here is what she had to say. Let's get some volume on this so that we can hear it, courtesy of this video clip, turning this on and restarting it. Apologies for the misstart. Here's the biggest Fani in Georgia, Fani Willis. What the hell's going on over here? Play the audio.
It was not the time I was in this building. Some of y'all might know a little bit about that. It was not for a celebration like today. I was here to testify before what I can only describe to you as, and I hope they listening, a clown show.
We are listening, Fani. This audio keeps cutting out. I don't know why.
Go. It was led by a clown. I understand the same clown that led my questioning was just gifted bunny ears. Some of y'all know the significance of that. Some of y'all don't.
Wow.
But he was gifted these bunny ears by Representative Rua Romanian.
Read it.
She was responding to a hateful, racist video that he had recently posted. She told him she gave him the bunny ears because she understood he was into that type of thing. Word on the street is, allegedly, he got some strange furry habits. The Senate hearing was a great waste of taxpayers' money and time. The Senate hearing was not about getting answers for Georgians as they lied and told people, but rather it was a desperate attempt to get their own name in the paper. See, they got to keep my name in their mouth for people to even know who they are. See, these...
Okay, so that's Fani Willis. And thank you, chat, for the reminder that this is really, I think, who she's trying to emulate over here. Did she get a Big McFlurry or something like that? This is Big Grimace. Looks pretty much like that's what she's going for. Her stylist was like, Fani, I got it. I know exactly what we're doing. Don't ask any questions. Just come into my studio and we'll make you nice and situated. Here's more from Big Fani closing it out.
They have no ideas for Georgians. No plans to make Georgians' lives better. They want to show you that they are powerful and strong by coming after me. Let me tell you what they ended up showing in December.
What?
That they're stupid.
Oh, good argument.
That they're weak.
Good argument. Wow.
And if y'all don't mind me saying so, they got a classic ass kicking while they got drugged for 3 hours.
All right, so that's like a meltdown. She's very upset about this. But the truth is, she's in big trouble. She said, put your money where your mouth is. They did. They've got a new bill passed. Hopefully it gets signed into law by the governor. And here's more on what exactly is going to happen. Senate Bill 605 passed the Georgia Senate 34-18 back on March 6. Expands the grounds on which she can be disciplined and removed from office, building on the prior act, which was an oversight body created back in 2023. Under SB 605, prosecutors could face discipline for failing to comply with the rules. Republican sponsors sponsored it, said the measure strengthens accountability, and all of it comes to the result of the frustration from her prosecution of President Trump. DAs in smaller circuits say the bill sets standards that their understaffed offices can't meet, and other prosecutors out there are crying about it. I don't know if they're sleeping with their special counsels as well.
Right now, many of you in our central
But
Georgia
Vaughn is, we're having some audio. Then this video starts to play. One doesn't want to play, then this one starts to play. So they're screeching about it. Barksdale said that he supports oversight in principle, and others are saying, don't throw me out of office. It's going to slow us all down. So Fani Willis is struggling out there. SB 605 says that they can remove her from office. And since the voters won't do it, since they reelected her, what else can be done for oversight? There's no bar exam or bar board that will actually think about removing her. They all like what she's doing because she's attacking their political opponents too. We know that the Senate has sent demands and subpoenas for information from her office that she will not turn over. And she spent $700,000 over to Nathan's hot dog. And now there's nothing happening. So how about you throw her out? This is a good start because there's fraud all over the place. And now we're learning more about this. A top DOJ prosecutor says tens of thousands of non-citizens are on voter rolls. Dozens of those people that they've identified thus far have also illegally voted. The top Justice Department prosecutor for the Trump DOJ told Just the News that they found a bunch of problems here. Her name is, of course, Harmeet Dhillon. She's in the middle of suing a bunch of states that are failing to turn over their evidence, just like Fani. And now they've got a bunch of MOUs and memorandums of understanding. And we have a clip here from Harmeet explaining exactly what's going on. But this was one person we talked about earlier in the week. Mahadi Sacco came into the United States illegally, was arrested by ICE, and has been charged with voter fraud. She said there are dozens more non-citizens that they've already confirmed have voted illegally, but those cases have not been prosecuted in multiple jurisdictions. And so here's the clip of Harmeet Dhillon from the Civil Division explaining exactly what is going down, courtesy of Chanel Rion, and fine point on this clip.
Widespread rain, but it's a whole lot lighter in nature.
Pause, sorry about that. Let's go back. Here we go.
Arizona, a hotbed of election fraud. Do you expect anything interesting to come out of there? Is there anything you can share on that front?
There's nothing that I can share right now, but I can tell you, Chanel, that I've been on the ground in a couple of successive elections in Arizona, including being stationed there in 2024 and managing those operations from a political perspective. And some of the things I've seen over there are just like incompetence so bad, you have to wonder if it's deliberate.
It is.
And, lack of chain of custody of ballots, improper sized ballots being provided, improper sized paper being provided for the print on demand ballots in the voter centers in Maricopa County. Random things like proper equipment not being available entire county-wide in some of the more rural areas there. It's really a shambolic and poorly run system in Arizona. And so whether it's fraud, whether it's incompetence, either way, that kind of thing really decreases the confidence of voters in the outcome of elections, which is a tragedy for any functioning republic or democracy. And we have to put a stop to that. Everybody should look at the outcome of an election and accept its results, feeling confident that you have a competent government doing their job and not just treating this like some second or third class right. It's a first class right in this country to vote and to have the ability and confidence that your vote is being counted once and only with American citizens. And the rest of the world, even countries that we kind of frown upon as not really being functional democracies like our democratic republic, they have elections in some of these third world countries and everyone accepts the outcome because looks like they're, at least that's being competently run in their country. We have the opposite here. A lot of things happen very well in our country, technology, but in this particular area, some states and many election officials have made it easy to cheat and also hard to have confidence in the outcome. And we're trying to put a stop to that in this administration.
Exactly. It's like tactical incompetence. They just screw everything up when it all lines up in their direction. In other words, their candidates win. Then they just blame oversight, administrative error. Oops, these are mistakes that we just didn't catch. So cut us some slack. Don't charge us with crimes. Don't make us give us your voter rolls. Leave us alone. Stop being a conspiracy theorist and just move on and let our candidates govern you accordingly. Well, that's not how it works, not anymore. And so one state that is complying with some of these requests is Ohio. And now Secretary of State Frank LaRose out there in Ohio has now delivered 8 million Ohio voters over to Harmeet and the Trump DOJ. And this is interesting. Lots of info going over to them, and it has been shared. Now, they're upset about this because they say there's no consent from the voters, and this is a breach of their privacy rights and more. But it's not all that concerning from our perspective because the federal government already has your social security numbers. They already have these details, and your privacy rights are already embedded in the federal government. This is the feds communicating with the states. They only don't like it when it's a Trump DOJ who's going to go expose their fraud. Then all of a sudden it's about privacy. And they want privacy for the fraud, privacy for the illegal aliens and the dead voters and the duplicate voters and the people who they can exploit in order to pad their numbers so that they can win by very small margins like 10,000 votes, 11,000 votes in various states. So the developments continue every day. We're off course talking about the SAVE Act and wanting to deliver results on this. And John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, was out saying next week he's going to bring some progress on this. But Anna Paulina Luna is calling him out. Thune said, next week I will bring the Save America Act to the floor. Senate Democrats will be forced to defend their outrageous positions on these issues and explain to the American people why common sense and the Democratic Party have parted ways. They don't really care about explaining anything as long as they win. And if the Republicans don't pass it, they will win. And as soon as they get in charge, they're going to nuke the filibuster and pass their own version of this, which, of course, would strip the rest of us of any actual election integrity in the name of voter enfranchisement. So Luna called him out and said, everyone knows this means absolutely nothing unless the standing filibuster is invoked. The American people are sick of performative politics. They want real results. Thune, it's time to deliver for the people. And here is more of what Thune had to say on the Senate floor. Let's see if he's got anything useful for us.
Mr. President, later today, we will finish up the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, the latest piece of legislation.
Great.
Not to keep using the word common sense, but it's pretty common sense, right? We require photo ID for a whole lot of things in this country for obvious reasons. Getting on a plane, show your official government-issued photo ID. Go to the doctor, same thing. Provide your government-issued photo ID plus your insurance card. Get hired for a new job. Provide your government-issued photo ID when you start. Mr. President, public libraries ask for a photo ID. In New York City, you have to provide some type of photo ID to get a library card. Baltimore, Maryland, same thing. Washington, D.C., again, photo ID. Mr. President, I'll stop with the list of libraries, but I think we can all agree that if you have to show photo ID and prove where you live to get a library card, it's not too much to ask voters to show ID to vote in federal elections. It takes about 10 seconds and protects the security of our elections. Mr. President, Americans overwhelmingly agree that voters should have to show ID at the polls. 83% of Americans, 83% in an August 2025 poll supported requiring photo ID at the polls for all voters. That includes 71% of Democrats. 76% of Black Americans, 77% of Asian Americans, and 82% of Hispanic Americans. It kind of feels like the only Americans not to support voter ID requirements are Democrats here in Congress.
And the cheaters, yeah.
That's right. We're expecting continued full-throated opposition to voter ID and the Save America Act from Senate Democrats, as well as more of the unforgivable rhetoric that Democrats have already been engaging in. The Democrat leader has been calling this bill Jim Crow 2.0, a phrase that is not only deeply irresponsible and insulting to those who actually lived through that dark chapter in our history, but also insults the overwhelming majority of Americans, including minorities, who look at voter ID and see nothing more than common sense. In fact, Mr. President, I can really see only two reasons for Democrats opposing this legislation. Either Democrats are just reflexively opposing this proposal because it originated from Republicans, or Democrats believe that there are, in fact, people out there voting illegally and that it's benefiting Democrats.
Yep, and some Republicans who
And they
won't get
want
on
to keep it
board.
going. I honestly cannot think of another reason to oppose something so eminently reasonable as requiring people to demonstrate that they're eligible to vote and that they are who they say they are when they go to the polls. Now, Mr. President, I'll have a lot more to say about the Save America Act next week, including about two other common sense measures in the bill that would prevent biological males from competing in women's sports and protect minors from gender transition procedures. Two other things I should note that are supported by the American people. Mr. President, I can't guarantee an outcome on this legislation.
Well, you should.
But I can guarantee that we are going to put Democrats on the record. That they will be forced to defend
They don't care.
their outrageous positions on these issues and explain to the American people why common sense and the Democratic Party have parted ways. Mr. President, Republicans are looking forward to this debate. I look forward to saying much more about the Save America Act in the very near future.
All right, so we're going to be back, obviously, next week to keep very close eye on that. But Brandon Gill, who is a great representative, said, you know, as long as the Senate refuses to pass the SAVE Act, why should I, in the House, vote for any bill that the Senate sends over to the House? Total gridlock until this gets done. Taking a page out of President Trump's book. Trump says, I'm not signing anything until this SAVE Act is on my desk. Brandon Gill leading the way, too. So nice developments there. Of course, we'll see what Thune does, but voter fraud and election fraud is real. Lauren Boebert says, pass the Save America Act. And this was a clip of a woman shoving ballots that she harvested into the ballot boxes in a very short clip.
Campaign Facebook page shows a woman whom he claims to be a supporter of Mayor Joe Ganim and a City Hall employee stuffing envelopes into the absentee ballot drop box outside the government center. A number of campaign Facebook.
Yeah, and she got charged. Obviously, that got picked up. And it's not just there, it's everywhere. It's in Alabama, too. This was a nice report about having to basically redo an entire election because of all of the fraud. Here's this story from Fox 10.
New tonight, the town of Frisco City will now have a special election. It's to determine who will take the title of mayor and District 1 Town Council. Now, this decision was made by Monroe County Judge Jack Weaver.
And it comes after a lawsuit and the indictment of 3 Monroe County women on voter fraud charges in last August Frisco City election. Our Natalie Williamson has been digging into this. And Natalie, no one argued with the judge's decision.
Lenise and Cameron, both parties agreed with Judge Weaver's decision for a special election. Tonight, while it's unclear when that election will be, people in Frisco City tell me they're looking forward to casting their vote. Tonight, a Monroe County judge has ordered a special election in Frisco City following a lawsuit and recent arrests involving alleged voter fraud.
No.
Circuit Court Judge Jack Weaver signed this consent decree requiring the small town to hold a special election to determine who will serve as mayor and District 1 Town Council. During a court hearing this morning, Judge Weaver ordered town officials to create a workable voter list showing all registered and eligible voters, as well as a district list showing the district each resident lives in. The judge also ruled that anyone who worked in the August election cannot work in the special election. This decision is the result of this lawsuit filed by former Mayor Alan Lang, who claims 131 illegal absentee ballots were cast in August municipal election, causing him to lose to Brandon Love. Lily Mims Phillips, a resident of Frisco City, tells me she's happy with the judge's decision.
It will take out all the uncertainties, and for both parties, I think it's a good thing. Then they can stop asking questions about the election. So I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. This also comes after 3 Monroe County women, Samantha Kyles, Sarah Bennett, and Sharon Denson, were indicted for voter fraud.
Wow.
Court documents show the 3 filled out a total of 20 illegal absentee ballots during the Frisco City municipal election. Officials confirm as of March 4th, Bennett is now a former security guard for the Monroe County Courthouse, and Kyles is a judicial assistant for District Court Judge Donna Silcox. Right now, Judge Silcox is refusing to answer whether or not Kyles is still employed. Judge Weaver says the town has 45 days to submit those voter lists. As for Bennett, Kyles, and Denson, we're waiting to hear when those cases will head back to court. In Frisco City, Natalie Williamson, Fox 10 News.
Okay, so that is a tiny little town, small margins of error, and these are people who are in positions of trust. Judicial assistant, security guard, all the things. Imagine what's happening. Everybody can see this, okay? It's a very small election. You go, wait, what? Where are all these numbers coming from? You add it up. There's like 1,500 people total in the city, as an example, and you got 2,000 votes. Where do these come from? And you can start to deconstruct it. Now you take that to Fulton County, right next door in Georgia. Now you take that to Maricopa County, where we're talking about millions of ballots across the state. The grift is in the gray area. Once you extrapolate this out, you can easily shove in 10,000 votes or 12,000 votes like in Georgia or 11,000 votes like in Arizona. And you can't track it. And then they turn to us and they say, stop asking questions about how this was conducted. We have safeguards and we check things. And in Georgia, they were not even zeroing out the polls or signing off on the closed poll tapes. It is rampant for fraud, and we're just supposed to sit here and just expect that everything was done above board. We don't. There's fraud everywhere, even in Frisco, Alabama. And now those 3 ladies are, of course, in big trouble for this. So it goes on. What should we be doing about this? Well, here's Thom Tillis, and earlier, we heard from John Thune. John Thune went through the numbers. He said these are national numbers that show specifically most Americans are very interested in this issue. Even both parties in Frisco were interested because nobody trusts the outcome of the election. And how can you have a functional government if people don't trust the people who are elected? You can't. And maybe that's the point, is they don't want this beautiful experiment to continue to work if everybody is alleging the other side is fraudulent. And here is Thom Tillis, one of the worst, who's not running for re-election, so he can get even nastier by the day. He's asked another great question from our friends at Lindell TV, who asked the hardest questions of anybody in the media. Thank you, Mike Lindell and the Lindell team. Here is one reporter asking questions of Thom Tillis about these numbers. Hey, Thom, do you want to backstab your constituency on the way out? Do you want to do something good on the way out? Here's the exchange.
Where are you on the Save America Act specifically? 95% of Republicans
Save
support
America Act. And you can say 95% of the people support it, but you can also have to do further analysis and say that the main voters rejected voter ID by 60-40 vote in the last 2 years, and the same is true in Michigan 4 years ago.
What is he talking about?
So spare me these national numbers and start drilling down. You know why? Because I actually care about Republicans winning elections, so those sort of broad swaths are not going to get them elected. They're going to get them unelected.
What about illegal?
What the hell did he just say? What is he talking about? Voters rejected voter ID in Michigan or something?
Voting in elections, isn't this necessary to protect elections?
Of course, and that's exactly why as Speaker of the House, I signed a voter ID bill, and we have voter integrity in North Carolina, and actually signed bills to stop ballot harvesting after a Republican got caught doing ballot harvesting in North Carolina. So look, I mean, we can play all the political garbage games that we want to, but if you're a Republican that's worried about Republican majorities, then you start acting like an adult and stop setting up and giving more bait to Democrats to beat us in November. If we did Save America Act where we set up, we update Help America Vote Act. And we say if you're a state that doesn't require voter ID, you're on your own for funding your elections. And the federal government will focus more on voter integrity in those states that don't. So you go it on your own to pay for your elections, and the federal government will spend more time, because it necessarily has to, in those states that are going against what a majority of their voters want to do.
Okay, so you're for it, but you're not really for it. You're for the Save America Act, but you're not for it because some other polls from some other states say that when you were at the state level, you thought it was a good idea, but not at the federal level. So it's good enough for North Carolina, but not good enough for the rest of us. I'm so glad this guy is gone, and he's probably going to go get some consulting gig and make millions of dollars and then continue to sell out the country. But that's Thom Tillis from North Carolina. He's a stain on the Senate. Now, behind him, a close secondary stain, is John Cornyn. And once again, he doesn't even know how to answer these questions. Someone else wrote that op-ed for him yesterday. So if you ask him about the SAVE Act, his mind just starts to shatter into a million pieces. And he now is continuing to accuse anyone who's asking hard questions of being a paid Paxton supporter. Here's Cornyn.
What do you have to say to the Americans who are questioning why President Trump should endorse you when many say that you've been vehemently against his agenda?
Do you speak for all these Americans? I don't understand.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I do.
Yeah.
Many people are asking this question. Do you have a response? I mean, you've been borderline pro-amnesty, red flag laws.
Are you being paid?
Anti-border
Are you
wall.
being paid by the Paxton campaign?
No, I'm just a concerned American citizen representing millions of other Americans.
No, I think you're a paid influencer because none of that's true, and you know it.
Okay. What do you have to say to the Americans?
Wow. So I guess if you want voting integrity to be passed, you work for Ken Paxton. I guess we all work for Ken Paxton now. And every one of these clips, I hope, drives more Cornyn voters right into Ken Paxton's big loving arms. And when the Senate fails to advance this, Ken Paxton obliterates Cornyn. The guy's a piece of work. He's condescending to a very simple question from a very good reporter who's asking real questions, not like these other people like Manu Raju. You see him back there. Manu, if you watch this right here, this is the CNN dude back here, right here. He's kind of scoffing at these questions. They're way better questions than anything that he's ever asked. And so Cornyn doesn't want to talk about it and just starts to throw ad hominems because the questions are a little bit too difficult for John. But while this is all happening, we have some other senators who are mostly sane, like Josh Hawley, who had this to say when asked about the SAVE Act, once again by Lindell.
On the Save America Act, what's your message to Americans who are incredibly frustrated with the pace at which this is moving? I mean, it's virtually not getting done.
Yeah.
And now Thune is talking about not even implementing the talking filibuster the way it was intended to work.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can change this trajectory?
I think it's not moving. I mean, that's the problem. It's
Right.
completely stuck. And for those who say, oh, this is wild, this is extreme, no, it's not. This is what we do in my home state of Missouri. We have voter ID. We have had for years.
Good enough
we
for
have
them.
Citizenship requirements. We have had for years. So this is not nuts. This is what most states do. It's just a few states who don't want to do it because they want illegals voting.
Yep.
I think the Senate should pass it. And I think, as I said a second ago, if Democrats want to stall this and don't want to vote on it, they should have to go hold the floor like it used to be in the old days.
Right.
They can go and talk as much as they want. But sooner or later, they're going to run out of time, and then we would vote. And that's what I think we need to do.
But it seems like Thune specifically is, reluctant to move forward with implementing the talking filibuster.
Yeah, I'll let him speak to that. I mean, I would just say that my view is that this is extremely important, and it's just a myth that to make people actually go and defend their position on the floor is somehow a great break with Senate tradition. That's not true. This is how the filibuster's always been implemented.
Right.
You want to stall something, you can go to the floor. Ted Cruz once read children's books on the floor, for heaven's sake. So that is you can ask him about it. So that is how it's traditionally done. And now Democrats say, well, we don't want to do that. If you make us do that, you're breaking the Senate. No, we're not. This is how the Senate's supposed to operate. But we should do something. And my concern right now is on a lot of things. We're just not doing anything, and we need to.
Yeah, and maybe John Thune needs to go, and based Mike Lee can take over the helm and actually get some things accomplished in the Senate because John Thune is too weak. Now, here is base Mike Lee, speaking of the man, said, let's put an end to all this misinformation. Sound like Cornyn. The Save America Act helps Americans to prove their citizenship and identity without spending a dime. With that cleared up, I look forward to my Democrat colleagues supporting this wildly popular and important election security legislation. From Base Mike Lee from Utah, walking us through how this works, courtesy of the Senate committee hearing right here.
We took great pains to go out of our way to make sure that no American would be left in the dark.
Well,
this will not cost them a dime, and no one will be excluded if they can't find their documentation.
All of us should be aware of the fact of what is required by this act when it comes to registering to vote. You have to present identification, correct? But your driver's license, which most people use in the course of business every single day, is not acceptable. What is acceptable is a passport. 50% of Americans do not have a passport. Those who want to obtain it so they can vote will pay $186 and wait 3 or 4 weeks for that to happen. Secondly, you can use a birth certificate. But any person who has changed their name as a result of a marriage or a hyphenated relationship has to find not only their birth certificate, but some correction of it to prove that they're eligible to register to vote.
I'm happy to report to my dear friend and colleague,
Thank you,
Senator Durbin from Illinois, you're in luck. We've taken care of that. When you read the bill, what you'll discover is that we've made special accommodation for those who don't have documentation, for those who can't find their birth certificate, maybe their house burned down, maybe their dog ate it, whatever it is. When all else fails, if you don't have documentation establishing the information on your birth certificate or what would be in a passport or otherwise, the bill contains a provision requiring each state to allow an alternative mechanism by which someone can, by attestation, issue a sworn statement establishing the critical facts underlying their citizenship. It then puts the onus on the state to follow up on that and to determine the authenticity of it. States have access to their own records. States have reciprocity with other states and are able to achieve verification of that. So we've taken care of that problem, and so I'm sure you'll be elated to hear that, and we look forward to having your affirmative vote when we vote on the Save America Act. We took great pains to go out of our way to make sure that no American would be left in the dark. Well, this will not cost them a dime, and no one will be excluded if they can't find their documentation.
Wow, amazing. So it's almost like a provisional ballot. You go in, fill out this affidavit. Yeah, I don't have the documentation here. Fill it out. They can validate that on the back end, and your vote will ultimately count if you're a citizen. But if you're not, or if this is a duplicate problem, or you're a dead person, or you were born in 1900, or whatever the numbers are, that's not going to count. And that's the problem for them. Just like this lady who is shoving ballots into drop boxes, just like these ladies who are committing voter fraud shamelessly without thinking that they were going to get caught. It's happening all over the country. And Fani Willis, the grimace monster who is now running around in purple, screaming and shouting about why you can't investigate her or remove her from office for being a part of the election fraud system. Elections are stolen. Then you have the cleanup crew to come in. You need to shake the building, like in that Ocean's 13 movie. Everybody goes in there, the fraud happens, you got to shake it so everybody leaves and nobody can piece it back together. Same thing is happening here. Fani Willis has repercussions coming. Arizona now has terabytes of data that they delivered over to the FBI. We've got our cleanup crew in Arizona, Adrian Fontes and Chris Mays, who are threatening county recorders with felonies if they dare cooperate. And the investigation continues. Ohio is dropping information over to Harmeet, Dhillon. They're going through their investigation to figure out exactly how many illegals voted and how many other illegals are intending to vote. And we have to get the Save America Act passed. But meanwhile, we've got loser senators like John Cornyn who can't even answer a hard question. You're a senator, John. How can one question from a nice journalist send you spiraling through the rooftops? Well, it's because you know you're cooked and no one's buying your little scam here. No one believes you wrote that op-ed. We know that you're going to stab us all in the back the first moment you get, and we're pretty sick and tired of it. So Save Act must pass. We're going to keep our eye on this one. Next week is going to be the week where they're going to bring it to the floor, and they better actually bring it, not just go through the motions and jerk us all around. We've had enough of that. So we'll be here to cover it. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, now we're going to the Supreme Court. So speaking of illegal aliens and people who should not be in this country any longer. We have a major Supreme Court appeal. The Trump DOJ back at the Supreme Court with a big demand, which is to stop the cancellation of TPS status. Little bit of a complex sentence there, but the idea is, of course, Kristi Noem was running Homeland Security. We have all these groups of people that Joe Biden brought in to try to make them citizens so that they could participate in American governance. And in this case, we've got Haitians and the refugees who were here temporarily, who should no longer be here temporarily because it's temporary status. And that has been canceled courtesy of Kristi Noem. But what happens here is the lower level judges want that status to continue so they can pop out a bunch of babies and get on the pathway to citizenship and continue to pervert the American demographics and then help the Democratic Party, which gave them these benefits, which brings them here, gives them SNAP benefits, gives them education, ensconces them in royalty, calls them the bedrock of America or whatever they say. All of it is now coming to a close, but the judges can't allow that to happen. So they keep issuing injunctions and stalling out the decisions from Homeland Security so that they can steal literal years away from our presidency and our governance. Well, not anymore. At the Supreme Court, we got D. John Sauer, who says, can you please stop what has just come down from the District of Columbia? He writes here in an appeal up to SCOTUS. After we fast forward through the beginning, he says, all right, we're back here, and we filed this application to stay the order that has come out of the District of Columbia as we are continuing to appeal this. This is the government's fourth application, okay? We're living through a judicial coup. These judges are stealing our time from us. Fourth time we're here, for crying out loud. They must be losing their minds. We're now asking for a stay. A lower court is refusing to allow the Trump administration to terminate TPS for certain countries. This time with the Haitians. We brought a bunch of them in here. We try to be good people. Mayorkas wanted to bring them in and kept extending it and extending it and extending it, and they stay indefinitely. Having babies, siphoning off benefits, creating leering centers, and the list goes on and on. Now, we've been here before with Venezuela and Syria. It's currently pending. And now we're back. Now, those cases and the decisions of the 4th and 9th Circuits allowed the TPS terminations to take effect. So we canceled your temporary status, which means you no longer have status here, and now you have to go home. That has been allowed to take effect for Nepal, for Honduras, for Nicaragua, for Afghanistan, and for Cameroon. And these all include the same challenges, all APA claims. All of these trying to undo what Kristi Noem did. They say, well, she didn't consult other agencies and she didn't correctly assess country conditions. We have to keep everybody from all over the world until their countries are fixed, which means forever. And whether her decision was preordained, they all feature attempts to run around a bar. Okay, the law literally says the judges can't come in here and substitute their judgment for the executive branch's judgment. And they are exactly doing that. They all involve irreparable harm and balance of equities disputes. They're all pitting the executive branch determination against the national interest and other reasons why we canceled this stuff in the first place. Now, the main variation why these judges keep stalling this out is that courts in some cases, including this one, they endorse a far-fetched and far-reaching equal protection claim based on racism. Racial animus. Oh no, we're all so mean towards the Haitians and the Cameroonies and the rest of them. A theory, and I don't really care what color, where you're from or whatever. If you're here on temporary status, it's temporary. The administration canceled it. It's time to go home. That's the law. More broadly, these cases implicate critical issues of vertical stare decisis and separation of powers. Lower courts should be guided by you, Supreme Court, and you guys need to come in here and stop these judges from acting out. But other lower courts have not followed your rule. They're fastening upon immaterial distinctions, and they're not even clarifying about why we can't do what we are allowed to do under the law. So as a result, we're now here in an emergency posture in this court for a fourth freaking time. They didn't say that, but they maybe should have. With 4 more prospects waiting in the wings. We have a 2-2 circuit split arising on over how to handle this. We have stop and start litigation. We cancel it, then we have to uncancel it, then we have to turn it off, cancel it again. Just yesterday, another district court refused to stay its other postponement for Burma. Every country in the world. Below, in this case, the DC Circuit, in a split decision, joined the Second Circuit in refusing to stay the district court's postponement of the TPS termination. Here, the termination of the Haitian status was set to take effect on February 3rd. And as in other cases, Secretary Thom arrived at that determination. Why cancel it? Because she talked to the Department of State Rubio. She reviewed what the law demands and the statutory criteria. She looked at the Haitian's country's conditions and she explained her reasoning. All of those things are the requirements in order to get this done. And in this case, Christie determined that there was no longer, quote, extraordinary and temporary conditions in Haiti that prevent the Haitian nationals from returning in safety. Even if these conditions persisted, she still said it's statutorily required because it's contrary to our national interest. We can't be the babysitter for the whole planet. Go home, fix your own country. We have our own people to take care of here, our own money to spend on our own folks, and we can't babysit all of you. Saying that this is severely limiting our ability to screen and vet Haitians, and in her judgment, terminating this designation is a necessary and strategic vote of confidence that Haiti is turning. You're Haitian, go home. One day before the termination was to take effect, the district court indefinitely postponed it. Okay, it's canceled all the way up to the end. Not anymore. The court declined the invitation to try to follow the Supreme Court, and then they bypassed the law. Okay, 8 U.S. Code 1254A B5A says you can't substitute judge your judgment for the administration's judgment. They are the Secretary of Homeland Security. The law gives them the power to decide based on all of the criteria and the analysis of the home country and a report from the Secretary of State and more. But they did that. They said that we can actually do that. The bar is only a review of the determination. Okay, so your final conclusion, we can't argue with that. But we can interfere with how you came to your determination. So even though you say the Haitians can go home and it's valid, how you got to that conclusion, you didn't do it appropriately. And so now we're going to cancel your decision. So the court then reassessed the decision making, soup to nuts, finding that there are violations ranging from, quote, Humpty Dumpty-like disregard for meaningful consultation with the Department of State, saying you didn't actually talk to Rubio about this, to faulty assessments of country conditions and national interest. Actually, the Haitians are still eating cats and dogs down there, so we can't send them home. To a nefarious pattern and practice of always terminating TPS designations, saying you just cancel everything for everybody. You're not actually looking at it, which is her right. Now, on top of that, the court embraced respondents' equal protection claim, saying that this is because we're anti-black. No, we're not. Or we're anti-Haitian. No, we're not. We actually love Haiti. We love it apparently more than they do. And we think they should go home to their home countries. That's how much we love Haiti. Go home. Citing an ex post and other statements evincing the secretary's supposed animus towards non-white foreigners and statements from President Trump, they're all racist, so they can't actually run the government now. Now, as the equities, the court dismissed the national security, so there's no national security. So what if we're being flooded by foreigners and foreign relation concerns, and emphasized the harms, all of which are inherent in the TPS status. So they went up to the DC circuit. They denied the government's motion to stay that. So the lower level court canceled the cancellation. They said, can you please stop the cancellation of the cancellation? Court of Appeals said no. The majority said that you're not going to win on the case. And so we're here. Now, this court should grant a stay again. You've done it before, Supreme Court, so do it again. Now, as to the merits, their claims are clearly not reviewable. The judges can't even substitute their judgment for ours. And in all events, they're meritless anyways. Saying that there's an equal protection challenge, okay? Equal protection applies to TPSers who are not even citizens. As to the equities, the lower courts are again trying to block major executive branch policy initiatives. This is inflicting national harm and it's impacting foreign relations and they're calling us racist and bigots in the process. So, Supreme Court, unless you resolve the merits of these challenges, these issues that have now been ventilated in courts all across the country, this is an unsustainable cycle. It's going to repeat again and again, spawning more competing rulings and competing views of this. So please, Supreme Court, break this cycle, grant stays and cert, and allow this case to move forward. Now, as we've already explained, Supreme Court, various laws govern TPS status. In 1990, Congress established a program, lots of law here. And when secretaries designate TPS, it is temporary. That's what it means. And the secretary can undo that. Now, since the TPS statute was enacted, every administration has designated countries for TPS or extended those designations in extraordinary circumstances. This has happened a lot. In 2010, the secretary designated Haiti for TPS because of the earthquakes. During the first Trump administration, the secretary announced the termination of this was based on a determination that after 2010, the earthquake is over. You can go home now. The conditions down there are no longer there. The Ninth Circuit reversed the district court, and then the administration stopped the appeal. So then, of course, Biden stole the election. He came in 2021. He said, oh, no, we have to now bring in more Haitians. Why? Because some president got assassinated down there. There's a deteriorating political crisis, there's violence, and there's a staggering increase in human rights abuses. So therefore, it's America's problem, and we have to take over every single problematic issue in the world becomes our problem. So then Mayorkas Alejandro, he extended the designation twice, with the latest extension that was set to expire February 3rd, 2026. Thome came in on February 24th. She said, no, this is canceled. She announced the termination effective September 2nd, coming up last year. Then a district court set aside the partial vacature and let the expiration stay in place. So in part, to resolve this litigation, on November 28th, Thome announced that the designation would be terminated effective Feb 3 this year. Again, all these court decisions are stalling out the decisions. So these people continue to be here indefinitely. And I don't know what the official numbers are, but I would suspect that they're as bad or worse than the Somalis, who are on 80% of their households on welfare. So we're paying for them to be here. Temporary means temporary. Time to go home. So after consulting with the appropriate agencies, the secretary reviewed the country's conditions and determined that Haiti is fine. Based on her review, she said there's no problems down there that prevent them from going home. The secretary explained that while certain conditions in Haiti are concerning, like escalating violence and gang violence, the data that she examined indicate that parts of the country are suitable and that a new gang suppression force would help provide security. And Haiti's GDP is expected to grow and all that. So in addition, Thome determined that even if these conditions exist, we still need to cancel this because the United States is broke. We have too many illegal aliens and foreigners in here, and we can't afford it anymore. The secretary highlighted large numbers of Haitians arriving in the U.S. illegally in recent years because they've got a foothold. And Joe Biden opened up the borders so the families can come here. We brought a huge portion of them in here. They anchor down, create a beachhead, and then bring the rest of the country in. Numbers continued to increase with extremely high numbers seen around the time. And we brought them here, so it created a pull factor, which continued to flood our country. She described this from Homeland Security and the Secretary of State and the Director of National Intelligence. She said Haiti lacks a functioning central authority capable of maintaining or even sharing critical law enforcement or security information, and it severely limits our ability to vet the Haitians. We don't know who's coming in, criminals and gangbangers and the rest of them. So the secretary found that the lack of information is very concerning. We've got Haitian gangs now roaming around the streets. All that poses a very serious threat to the United States. And of course, we want Haiti to be peaceful. And she determined that they're working on it. They're getting close. So in this lawsuit, you have 5 foreign Haitianers whom we brought here, and these people have been given the grace of temporary protected status in the United States, but now they don't want to go home. So they abuse our gratuity, our graciousness, and they say, we're suing. You can't kick us out. You invite a house guest in. You say, hey, come in here, come out of the cold. We'll take care of you, but we expect you to get back out on your own 2 feet. We'll give you some food. We'll give you a set of clothes and a place to sleep. But time's up now. You can't live here forever. Do you understand that? Yes. Do you want to come in? Yes. Will you leave after the temporary status is over? Yes. Great. Come on in. Now it's time for you to go. I'm not going anywhere. And now I'm going to sue you. And you're a racist bigot too. And I want more money. And you have to bring in my family from the rest of the world. So they filed a class action. And then our useless judges all indulge in this. On February 2nd, 2026, the day before the termination, the district court coup judges then reversed the actual cancellation. The district court first held that the equal protection, you can't be bigots to them, and said that the secretary failed to adequately consult other agencies. So I don't like how you're doing your job. Accused Kristi Noem of taking a Humpty Dumpty-like view of this. The court acknowledged that Homeland official, and they requested the views on the country conditions. And the State Department said, well, state believes that there would be no foreign policy concerns with respect to this. Yeah, it's not going to be a problem. But the court said that's not good enough. You should have had a deeper conversation, saying that basically the secretary did not consult anybody at all. So the district court said, I disagree with you. Said this is unprecedented and you're not following the law. And so therefore, this is arbitrary and capricious and the Haitians get to stay forever. The court concluded that nearly everything in its analysis also indicated that the secretary preordained the result and didn't actually want to maybe give it a fair shake. Now, as to this, it's also a violation of the Equal Protection Clause, right? Saying that Kristi is a racist. The court applied heightened scrutiny and said, well, now you're being bigoted towards the Haitians, and that racial animus infected the termination decision. And that Kristi Noem's statements shows that she hates non-whites. So finally, the district court found that the Haitians win. And if you deport them or you separate family members, and why are you separating family members? Why? Well, because they've been here for a long time now and they pop out a bunch of babies. Those babies become anchor babies. And then it makes it more difficult to separate the families. You're not going to separate the families, are you? The court rejected the government's description of those harms as speculative and said we have aggressive raids and a stay is in the public interest because the Haitians have economic contributions and they're in our local communities, and that there is no national security concern because the judge is now the president. So when the government moved to stay this, the district court responded, said, I want sworn declarations from Homeland, and ordered them to state whether Homeland had attempted to mobilize these people to go round up the Haitians. Then denied the stay. Then on March 6th this year, not long ago, the D.C. Circuit issued a 2-1 decision saying no stay. Haitians get to stay. So the court held that the government's invocation of foreign affairs was insufficient and there are complex and ongoing negotiations and that the risk of detention, the separation of family members, the loss of work authorization all outweighed the harm. Judge Walker dissented. He said, I would have granted the stay. He found this case and the Venezuela case are indistinguishable. It's the same argument, just a different class of people. He explained the government is irreparably harmed by an improper intrusion by a federal court into the executive branch. And as to the merits, the judge got it right, the dissenter. He said, the statute says you can't override the determination. You're not the Secretary of State, Judge. You don't get access to the same information that the Homeland Security Secretary has. So you can't necessarily make a judgment. And he said that we're going to win. So the appeal continues. We go through the arguments. They say, we're going to win the Supreme Court. Please come in and settle this. This court necessarily viewed us as going to win in prior cases, saying, second, their claims are meritless. They mirror the same arguments that have already been stayed by this court when we talked about Syria, Nepal, Honduras, and the rest of the planet. And even assuming that there are constitutional challenges that are reviewable, this analysis was the wrong standard. And if you adopt this standard, it would invalidate virtually any immigration action that this administration takes, which is obviously the point. Indeed, this court necessarily concluded the government was likely to win. We already won in other locations, and the law is very clear. The law says, quote, okay, these judges are just the worst. The law literally says there is no judicial review of any determination of the secretary with respect to the designation or termination or extension of TPS. She makes the decision. You don't get to override it. That bar encompasses this. Indeed, this court has already twice, Supreme Court, granted the government's request for stays when the government raised the same judicial review bar when we talked about Venezuela. In that other case, the claim was that Rubio or Christie's vacature determination didn't give a good enough explanation. I don't like your book report, said the judge, so go write it again. The government's only argument as to its likely success on those claims is that this law literally bars review. And you, Supreme Court, granted the government's stay request over the courts of appeals. That means we have a strong showing, and that means we're entitled to relief here. Obviously, the law is broad. Congress wrote the law. They don't like it. They can change it. Congress prefaced the determination within the term. They wrote any, not us. As the court has repeatedly explained, the word any means any. It has expansive meaning. Look it up in the dictionary. And they do. They go through the dictionary and explain it. Now, immigration policy is also vitally and intricately interwoven with the political branches of the government. The executive branch is accountable to the people. The judges are not. Now, at minimum, they say, if a no review provision shields certain actions, then it shields this one. And their claims are all prohibited for and from review. The district court said that Christie failed to consult with the agencies and that this was not a good faith cancellation and that the country's conditions are not actually good and her determination is implausible. He says the country is in chaos and in crisis, so that means we have to babysit the rest of the planet forever. The secretary failed to apply the national interest standard to the Haitian holders and that Christie didn't do a good job in her cancellation. At every single turn, the court second-guessed the substance of the determination. No matter how those challenges are packaged, they are an attack on the underlying decision, and they're not allowed to do that. And they can't evade the judicial bar. They can't make end runs around this bar by saying, well, now it's a constitutional problem. So foreigners are now completely under the U.S. Constitution such that the other laws that Congress passed that let them in no longer apply on the way out. Good enough to bring them in, but if you want to send them back out, then they can suddenly invoke all sorts of other protections that the law doesn't actually provide for. The district court's view would nullify the law. It would say that what Congress passed is invalid. The court tried to distinguish all this, but that is illusory, as evidenced by their insistence that Christie's determination is not a part of the determination itself, right? The judge is saying, I didn't ultimately say that you can't come to that conclusion. I just don't like how you came to that conclusion. And of course, you can never satisfy these judges. No matter what you do, they're always going to say, oh, that's a little bit of a racist thing, Christie. So regardless, all their claims lack merit. We consulted, just like when we were addressing Syria, the district court tried to override our designation. This is judicial micromanagement about how we do our affairs. It runs afoul of all of the rules and it's illegal. And walks us through the prior decisions from the district court. But Kristi Noem did exactly what the law says. She consulted with the appropriate agencies. She reviewed the country conditions in Haiti. She considered whether they're going to be fine down there. And based on all that, she decided it should be terminated. The conclusion accounted for the current conditions in Haiti and our national interest, which is like an afterthought in all of this, which is so disgusting. It's like, well, are they going to be okay in Haiti? And is this going to separate? What about our interest? Does anybody care? Trump and the Kristi Noem administration did. The district court next second-guessed the reason for this, saying it's arbitrary and capricious, but it wasn't. She went through evidence saying that Haiti is working to combat gang violence and that their economy is going to grow. But the district court substituted his judgment for hers. He said, no, it's a nation deep in crisis and it's a disaster down there. So that means we have to take care of these people who can't even run their own country. We have to bring them here and then we have to kind of integrate them into our society. And we are pretty tired of that. We want people with American values here who care about American culture and American system of governance and don't come in here and change state flags into foreign flags and then rip off the actual citizens who pay gobs of taxes and have worked hard to build our country and our infrastructure our whole lives that is now being siphoned off by fraudsters in every single state. The secretary acknowledged that certain conditions in Haiti remain concerning. Yeah, and we got concerning conditions here. And found that other conditions weighed in favor of determination. She's allowed to make that decision. Now, the determination of the national interests was also lawful. She considered limitations. We can't vet these people, and that the added strain of them they place on our public resources, they place on our job market, they place on our housing, our education, in our hospitals. They create leering centers and various other fraud entities, and we're all getting ripped off. So it is a national security interest, and it is in our interest to end it, which we did. But even it's on its own terms, the lower level court fails. The secretary did consider them. She emphasized the government's inability to screen them and how that's a problem for us. Now, finally, the district court at the lower level held that the secretary's decision must have been impermissibly preordained. But those flaws are also illusory. She went through the rules and she did everything she was supposed to do, but it's something the judge was unhappy with, so he reversed it. He said this is a heightened scrutiny issue. But that's in contravention of Supreme Court precedent. It says there's a rational basis review that governs constitutional challenges to immigration policies. As long as they are plausibly related to policy objectives, this is not the same thing as American citizens who are being discriminated against. It's immigration policy. It's not discrimination. You have the duty as the government in the federal land to protect the integrity of your own country. Otherwise, what is your job, really, if not to protect the citizens? So you get to decide whether people come in or they don't come in based on national interest. And if everybody can just turn around and say, well, you're being racist if you don't let me in, then everyone's going to come in. That deferential review is inappropriate. The Supreme Court precedent already says it, but the district court refused to follow Supreme Court precedent. Said that it's basically racist. And the refusal to apply the right standard is fatal to the whole case. But even under heightened scrutiny, we're still going to win. Secretary Thom gave us clear decisions. There is no discriminatory purpose in any of it. She provided reasoned explanations. She consulted with the various departments and said this is about national security. There are Haitian gangs, some of them designated as foreign terrorist organizations. They pose serious threats to America. But that's not what they cared about. They're cherry picking these things. They're saying that those other determinations were remote in time, and this is all about non-white foreigners. And it's an attack on non-white countries, saying this is all about animus. But that is the judge inferring something that they are not allowed to infer. And the facts show that it wasn't racist at all. She went through the motions under the law and did what she needed to do. All other stay factors include other issues, but everything favors a stay. As this court has already determined before, these cases are cert-worthy. You should hear it. Here, as before, the lower level court's order intrudes on an area that Congress specifically delegated to the executive branch. This is a time-sensitive program. The president has determined this is national security. And while secretaries across prior administrations previously terminated TPS status without judicial intervention, these judges are hacking off the time that the president has to do what he was elected to do. So these favor a stay. The universal relief improperly intrudes on the executive branch. The harm here is it's about our sovereignty, a fundamental sovereign attribute to govern immigration free from judicial control. Kavanaugh said something similar to that in a concurring opinion. The harm to the government and the public interest is particularly acute here because the secretary determined that Haitian TPS designation is contrary to our national interests. Haitian gangs pose a threat. Haiti lacks a central authority to vet them. That inability to screen these people is a clear and growing threat to us. The secretary found that extending this is not in alignment with our national interest, and they're canceled. District judge said, you guys are racist, and so they can stay forever. DC Circuit agreed with them and rebuffed our claims of irreparable harm. But the secretary says that it isn't a national harm and it is irreparable harm. And so Supreme Court, you need to hear this case. The court should allow the termination to take effect so that its implementation may proceed as planned. Allow for the removals to begin and the objections to those proceedings to be resolved. Delaying the termination until all litigation is resolved risks creating future implementation issues and impedes our ability to repatriate their citizens. Don't they love their home countries? Why are the Somalians here waving around Somali flags all over the place? Why don't they go back to Somalia? This court has already balanced the equities. The Court of Appeals rejected that, and you should grant cert before judgment. The D.C. Circuit is preventing us from doing this. Fourth and Ninth Circuits have allowed materially similar terminations to take effect. So we have a split. In Casa versus Nome, the Fourth Circuit denied an emergency postponement of this termination. As here, they said this was preordained. But the Ninth Circuit has also permitted terminations for Nepal, Honduras, and Nicaragua. And if you prevent the Haitians from going into effect, you're departing from other circuits. The DC circuit's going one way, other circuits are going another way. And so in conclusion, the court should at minimum stay the DC Circuit Court of Appeals pending further briefing and construe this as a petition for writ, accept the case, and Supreme Court settle this once and for all. Are we in control of immigration at the executive branch, or is the judicial branch running it? Because right now it seems like they're running it. So nice filing, extremely frustrating that American interest, American citizens who largely have no say in any of this other than electing people, and then they come in and issue like Mayorkas did. Everybody gets TPS status. Everybody gets to come in here. America will take care of all of you. It's one big happy family where the citizenry has to support the population of the world. We can't afford it. Our resources are being expended. We've got leering centers all over the place. We have hospice fraud riddled all over California. We're getting ripped off to the tune of trillions of dollars, probably every single year, that we don't even know or see. And judges are enabling it because they want the suicide of America. We're not letting it happen. Now, here's another scam that we have just discovered. ABC 7 Chicago is now helping to facilitate made-up claims. This is a woman called Sunny Nakvi. She is a 28-year-old U.S. citizen. And ABC Chicago says, oh, she got abused by Homeland. She's now back at home after spending about 43 hours in DHS security custody. 43 hours for a U.S. citizen? That's almost 2 full days. What an abuse, right? Wrong. They wrote a whole article about this. They spread it around. The media ran with it because they're trying to smear Homeland. Turns out it's not true. Homeland responded to this. They said this passenger's claims are blatantly false. Sunny Nakvi, she arrived back at O'Hare Airport at 10:21 a.m. March 5, 2026. Border Patrol officers referred her to secondary for additional inspection based on law enforcement checks, and they conducted a baggage exam. Ms. Nakvi then left within 90 minutes of her arrival to the United States. Not 43 hours, okay? 90 minutes. This is the new Juicy Smollett. I don't know if she was going to a Subway or what, but Nakvi was not taken into custody. She was not transferred to ICE detention at all. But ABC Chicago, their little post here alone, got 2 million views. Turns out, my opinion, she's a liar. Here you see Homeland saying, didn't happen at all. And you know what they did? Is they gave us video camera screenshots. They say, oh yeah, there's Miss Nakvi right there. The poor abused American citizen who's getting harassed by Homeland Security. She's coming into the building. What time is this? 10:46 a.m. March 5th, 2026. 10:46, see it right there up in the screen grab. And what's interesting about this is she then exits the building, walking through these big fat exit signs right there with all of her luggage on a little carrier there. Looks like she just got done being abused for 90 minutes or whatever. Time is 11:42. Wow, what was the original time? 10:46 to 11:42. Wow, shocking, right? So ABC and Chicago and the rest of the media took this and they said, how could you abuse this beautiful woman? Sakvi, she's an American citizen being victimized. Well, there was a follow-up to this and it's pretty incredible. Turns out it wasn't true at all. She's a Skokie woman. She said ICE detained her for nearly 48 hours. We see these stories constantly. An American citizen got detained. An American citizen is abused. Whatever. This one, I think, is a liar. Here's more. And here's evidence to support that. So this was written by 3 ladies over there saying she made headlines this week. It was spread all over the place. And this is the pattern, okay? They create a hoax. They spread the headlines of the hoax everywhere. And then the follow-up of the hoax gets like 1, maybe 100th of the view and the impressions. Nobody sees the correction, which is why we're covering it. This was an extraordinary story. How can Homeland detain a woman from America for 48 hours almost? Well, turns out she wasn't. Her name is Summer Sundas Sunny Nakvi. Her family said that she's 28 years old. She was taken into custody Thursday morning after arriving on a flight from Istanbul. But Cook County records show she was born in Evanston and allegedly told her family, this daughter, that she was detained at the airport and then taken into ICE in 2 different states, picked up, locked up, and transported. Now, Cook County Commissioner Kevin Morrison, a family friend, told the Tribune, so Cook County gets involved. She says, Nakvi Sunny is being detained. All these people all flip out about it. She was sent to an ICE facility in Broadview and later ended up in a Wisconsin jail. A jail that frequently houses Chicago area detainees before, oh, oops, my mistake, she's a citizen, and we let her go. None of it is true. Okay, here's this person. They actually are like hosting events. Wait till you read the rest of this. It's insane. So they host events. Why is ICE attacking American citizens? It's all made up. They're liars. But in a statement on Monday, Customs and Border Patrol, they said, no, none of that happened at all. Here's the screenshots. Only directed her to additional screening at the Chicago airport, then cleared her to leave. She departed of her own volition less than 2 hours after landing. They said blatantly false, 90 minutes. In a social media post, they showed the images. We just shared those. And the image qualities and angles make it hard to determine if it's the same person. Certainly looks like it is. Now wait till we get to the bottom of this. They say DHS didn't respond to a follow-up. They want the full video recording. I'm sure we'll get it. Over the weekend, though, Nakvi supporters, including Morrison, said that she was traveling on a work trip. Okay, so Nakvi then becomes like this victim. Everybody rallies around her and starts talking. They say that she was traveling on a work trip for a German software company and she was detained. She was flying back to the U.S. with 5 coworkers, all of whom are of South Asian descent, and all of them were detained. Now, if you go over to Nakvi's LinkedIn page, she calls herself a senior solution architect on LinkedIn. This is her job. She works at a company for SAP SE on Monday. That has now been taken down. She deleted her LinkedIn because it's filled with garbage. A spokesperson for the company called SAP, it's a multinational German software company, said, no, she doesn't work for us. Nakvi has never been employed there. Oh, weird. Nor had any of its employees ever been detained at O'Hare. They called the company. Hey, all these people came back from a work event. Did they get detained? They go, who the hell are you talking about? Sunny Nakvi, what? No. Neither Nakvi, her sister, nor Morrison have provided the identities of the coworkers seeking to verify the story because they made it up. Don't want to give that information out at all. Meanwhile, statement from the sheriff's offices in Cook County and Dodge County, Wisconsin said, no, we didn't detain her either. No indication of her being detained at the local facilities. So she made it up. The Department of Homeland Security has an agreement with Dodge County to house people, including those from the area, and county officials at that location. They say the jail logs confirm no female inmates or detainees from the federal government were admitted or released. Liar! Because no booking of Miss Nakvi ever took place, the sheriff's office does not have contact information for her. However, we are asking that she contact us so that we may speak to her about this allegation and obtain evidence of the incident from her and hopefully charge her with a crime for basically false reporting. At the behest of Morrison, Cook County Sheriff's officers got permission to enter and search the Broadview Detention Center for Nakvi on Friday. They didn't find anybody in the cells. No one's there. Homeland, which released 2 statements, initially said that there was video footage backing up its claim. Then they declined the request to see the surveillance footage. The Chicago Department of Aviation, which runs operations at the airport, said it did not find any records related to the incident. And they consider any video footage exempt, and we don't have access to the security footage there. Those are operated by our federal partners. So reached by phone on Monday afternoon, Gouveia did not dispute the version of events shared by Morrison and her sisters called Sarah as Fall. They're all out there holding press conferences about this, pressed on the chronology of her detention. So they call her, ask her questions. They say, hey, your sister said this happened. Is that true? Yeah, no, I'm Sonny Gouveia. It's true. My sister, what she said, it's true. They said, okay, well, let me just run through the timeline with her. So you say that you were detained at O'Hare, then you went to Broadview, then you went to Wisconsin. Is that right, Gouveia? Because we checked those places and you weren't there. Gouveia said, I don't want to talk anymore. By Tuesday, she stopped answering any questions. Her attorney then called Robert Held. He continued to defend her earlier this week. He said, well, Homeland has a history of lying. My client's not lying, they're lying. Her lawyer told the Tribune that he called a chief at O'Hare over the phone on Saturday. That officer allegedly told him that Gouveia had only been detained for like 2 minutes and was free to walk out of the door, and she did, which Held said was not his understanding of what transpired, and he found the government's account difficult to believe because ICE has been dishonest in the past. Has your client been dishonest in the past? Let's find out. So there's another person. The attorney holds a microphone. My client's being abused by Homeland Security. Brittany Rivera, a Chicago immigration lawyer, said she also made calls on Morrison's behalf to try to find her. They told her Gouveia was not in our custody. There's no record of her being here. But they said Homeland is not earning anybody's trust. Now, since October, they filed hundreds of complaints. All these illegal alien law firms are getting rich off illegal aliens and selling out their country in the process. A potential false report would most damage actual detainees who are fighting for justice, saying, don't call this a false report. Said it's not unbelievable this could happen. We're seeing it sometimes. But federal immigration officials have swept up U.S. citizens, and the public first became aware of these claims when Morrison, who's running for Congress, posted screenshots on his campaign page of her alleged cell phone location. Okay, so Democrats are now running for office saying, look what they're doing to my people. The images apparently showed her inside the building. Gouveia said in a text message, I think I'm at an ICE detention center. Maybe she was hanging out with Juicy Smollett. So the post sparked immediate backlash. Then there was a protest on Friday night. Dick Durbin, several Democrat candidates, all issued public condemnations. Everybody made a big deal about it. On Sunday, Morrison and other political candidates held a news conference. But at the protest, Gouveia did not speak or appear even in front of the cameras. In an interview with the Tribune over the weekend, Afzal said that she hesitated before telling her mother Friday that her little sister was missing. What happened here? I think I tried to hide the fact for a little while, like, how do I break this to her? Eventually, I had to break it to her, and she had to go sit in the car at the protest because she couldn't be around people. Homeland issued a statement on Monday recounting that it had contacted Gouveia on March 6th and told her she needed to let people know that she was okay. She said that she would and is now claiming she's going to hold a rally outside Broadview to detail her detention. The same statement suggested that Gouveia's criminal history caused her to be flagged. We're almost there. As she went through customs, Fones, a DHS spokesperson, retracted it. He said, well, we shouldn't talk about her criminal history. He provided a shorter statement. He said, we did not transfer anyone to Broadview or perform any phone detentions from her flight, period. Now, watch. Public records show that Gouveia, this woman, pleaded guilty in 2022 to making a false police report. Oh, no. She pleaded guilty to lying to the cops, alleging a sexual assault in 2019, completed 2 years of probation, records show, and then the case was dismissed. But not before Dick Durbin believed her lies. On Monday, Gouveia stuck with the broad strokes of her story, repeating the lies that she's been held in custody. She agreed that the agency had called her to say, hey, tell your family you're okay. Okay, maybe you're drunk somewhere or at some dude's house or something, having a bender off on a drunken spree, whatever. But we're not holding on to you. Are you hanging out with Jussie Smollett? Did you walk around at 2 a.m? Did somebody come and arrest you? Did Homeland Security say, this is mega country, you're going to jail? She said the call came after her release from the Wisconsin facility, doesn't want to answer any questions about her criminal history or her work history. False reporting. Weird. And all of her lawyers are like, well, Homeland's, they're liars, you know, they could have done this. Yeah, Morrison, a Democratic candidate in Illinois, said Monday, I still find her version of events credible. Idiot. He said he saw her both Saturday and Sunday after she came home. I think it was finally hitting her what had transpired. What? What transpired? She got her luggage and walked out the exit. Morrison told the Tribune that Nakhmi's mother showed him her phone in person and her location was pinging inside Broadview. Oswald said that she was about to file a missing persons report and that her sister's location was pinging in Juneau, Wisconsin, home of the jail. Nakhmi's phone died just as her family pulled up to the detention center, said her sister, covering for her. As a backup plan, the family had agreed to meet her at a Holiday Inn. Nakhmi had walked to a gas station after leaving the jail and hitchhiked 9 miles to the hotel. Man, she was up to no good. The Tribune reviewed the screenshots from Ovsol that apparently showed her location, along with the call history. A reporter on Tuesday asked her to send records of her iPhone location history to confirm the photos are not doctored, but she has not responded. Morrison also said that Nakhmi's passport was still missing, saying that his understanding was one of Nakhmi's workers returned to O'Hare to retrieve their belongings, but they're all just so scared because this girl is making crap up. Nakhmi said Monday that she wasn't sure where her ID and belongings were. Gosh, she should check into AA or something, man. Yeah, you know how those go. Wahlberg, the Cook County Sheriff's spokesperson, said officers did not find any luggage, and after holding a news conference, the family declined to answer additional questions. Said, we'd like everyone to respect our family's privacy. You guys held a press conference, you jerks. So she is a convicted liar, false reporting. She should be charged again with another false report. Tons of people bent over backwards to go find this girl, and turns out there's no evidence of it at all. And you start to press her on it, and all of a sudden, no details can be provided. And Homeland is so disgusting and evil. Meanwhile, you have liars blaming them for things they did not even do. So what do we do about this? We've got a new Homeland Security Secretary coming in called Markwayne Mullin, and we have questions about how he's going to be handling this. And Mike Johnson says, well, he might actually be kind of lightening things up because a lot of people are believing these lies. A lot of people are thinking that Homeland Security is rounding up citizens in face masks and detaining and kidnapping people off the streets. It's never ending. But Mike Johnson says, well, you know, there's some backlash coming because the media is propagandizing large parts of the country. Here's Johnson.
We got a little hiccup with some of the Hispanic and Latino voters for certain because some of the immigration enforcement was viewed to be overzealous, and, you know, everybody can describe it differently. But here's the good news. We're in a course correction mode right now. We're going to have a new Secretary of Homeland Security. Markwayne Mullin is going to be do a great job in that role. I'm sure that he'll be confirmed by the Senate. He's a thoughtful guy. He'll bring a thoughtful approach. You have somebody like Thom Homan, who has 40 years experience in the field and was decorated by former Democrat presidents for his acumen and expertise. And he went into Minneapolis and brought calm to the chaos there. That's what you're going to see. And I think we got a little hiccup.
So we'll see a little hiccup with the Hispanic voters. Okay, great. So here's more from Caroline Leavitt earlier this week, asked about the new incoming secretary.
You elaborated on the president's decision to tap Markwayne Mullin as the next DHS secretary. Can you talk a little bit about the rationale for the choice, why Mullin was the best candidate in his eyes, and also your message to congressional Democrats who continue to keep the DHS unfunded?
Yeah, well, Senator Markwayne Mullin has been a strong friend of the president and a big supporter of the president's immigration policies. Not only that, he's exceptionally talented, qualified, and I know well respected by his peers on Capitol Hill from both sides of the aisle. So we look forward to his expeditious confirmation, and I know the White House will be working with our counterparts in the Senate to make that happen as quickly as possible.
All right, so that was Caroline. That was actually from last week, and here's a little bit more. Markwayne Mullin was on with Will Cain over on Fox News, and here is what Markwayne said about H-1Bs and what the intention is when he comes into power.
We got to take an American-first approach to that. H-1B visas aren't just and sometimes causing the prices to go up, which I think they really do, because when it's competitive to get into it to begin with, and so many are taken up by foreign individuals, then they can just basically name their price. So we need to be taking a look at how many Americans aren't allowed to get into these programs because the H-1B visas are taking them.
Right.
You got to take
exactly
an
right.
American
And
approach to
so
that.
we're happy to hear that. That's what's happening with the Haitians and all of the other TPSers who have been brought here hand over fist. And when you do that, when you alleviate the pressure valve in these countries, you can just say, I'm just going to leave. I'll just go over here and go over here and go over here. There's no incentive to hold your officials accountable or to build a system of governance that actually works. And you continue to get Haiti. You continue to get Venezuela. So let the people stay there. They can organize themselves and reclaim their government and create their own systems. And if they can't do that, then it's not our problem. Okay, that's their problem, not ours. We can't be the protector and the babysitter for the whole planet. Hopefully the Supreme Court agrees. This case is now going up, knocking on their door. And it's a nice filing. Hopefully the Supreme Court does what they've done in the prior cases, grants the stay, and the secretary can cancel TPS status and America can reclaim her sovereignty from federal judges who think that they're running things. They're not. We're going to keep our eye on this story and more. Thank you for subscribing to our channel, and we'll see you back here on the next one. Now, if you're just getting here, thanks for joining us. Quick recap. We talked about Fani Willis, who's back in Kool-Aid mode again. And I don't know what is going on out there in Fulton County. Gets weirder by the day. And she's talking about bunny rabbits and stuff, and I don't know what is going on. Anyways, she's melting down because the Senate passed a new bill that says that they can remove her, and so she's lost it, saying, you can come after me and keep my name in your mouth and whatever nonsense coming from her. Meanwhile, we saw that the DOJ has identified tens of thousands of non-citizens on the rolls, dozens illegally voted. I'm sure that number deserves a couple zeros at the back of it, but that will be coming soon. We also saw Harmeet was here. Ohio's delivering records. John Thune talking like he's going to do something next week. We can't wait for that to come back, and we'll cover that, no doubt about it. Brandon Gill is here. We got Lauren Boebert. We had these three ladies who apparently literally stole an election. 3 women, 1 city, stole an election, and they tell us that all of our elections are perfectly free and fair. They caught this one because it's a small election. The bigger the scale, the easier it is to hide the fraud. And we know it's everywhere. So that's happening. Thom Tillis is a piece of work. So is John Cornyn. Josh Hawley, shout out. Nice job today. Mike Lee, the same. Then we talked about the Supreme Court. We talked about this lying citizen, in my opinion, called Sonny Nakvi, who made up a whole story just like Juicy Smollett having footlongs with some dude somewhere and then blames Homeland Security after her drunken bender or whatever happened and makes up a story for her family, turns into a national scandal. You have stupid, dumb senators who come out and condemn something that never happened, and there will be no correction from them. I guarantee it, because they're liars. Homeland is saying didn't happen. Video and screenshots confirm it. Chicago Tribune said, can you clarify? Can you show us your iPhone location? No, we want our privacy protected. Please don't call again. Johnson says we're going to have to let up because the Hispanics are mad at us, that I guess they invaded our country and we're mad about that. And then Caroline was out and Markwayne Mullin saying H-1Bers are stealing from Americans, which obviously is true. And now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. Happy Thursday. We're going to be live early tomorrow morning, or depending on what time zone you're in. Noon Eastern tomorrow. We'll be back 9 a.m. Arizona Pacific and all the times in between across the time zones. We'll come back. We'll have some good updates in the morning, and we'll have a beautiful Friday. Close out the week strong. And then that will be our last recording from this location. We're packing up and heading out to D.C. permanently for 18 months, and then we'll see what happens. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. I saw some great donos come in. Thank you for being here. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. Thanks for sharing the show with a friend or family member. It's better when we do it together. Thanks for bringing someone over and joining us, because we've got elections coming up. We have a country to save, and there's a lot of shenanigans out there that we got to unpack together. Now, what's going on with some donos in the house? Oh, here's Fani. It's highly offensive when someone lies to you, says Fani Willis, which is rich because basically every single word that comes out of her mouth is a lie. Thank you for that, Muffin. Here's this one. LB was AWOL this morning. Look at this handsome pup, man, in a little tutu. How does she feel about that? Is she happy with that tutu? Does she frolic? Does she prance? Does she feel pretty? Oh, so pretty? I don't know. Thank you, CK Dolores. Good to see you. Here's another one. But she's had her bath and now she's locked and loaded, ready for action. She seems to think napping is a better option, but I'm here anyways. Well, she can nap while we're watching the show in TCB, and it's good to get some rest while we're saving America. She'll come back and join us when she's well rested. Rick D, Army CID is offering a reward after unknown individuals infiltrated Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and made off with 4 Skydio X-10D drone systems. Gosh, I saw that. They're offering like, what, $5,000? Are you kidding me? $5,000? What do those drones cost? I think it was $5,000 for those. For 4 drones? Somebody's like, well, I'll take $5,000, which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But like, that's it. Those drones, what do those drones do? Do they have payloads in them? Can they be affixed with payloads? Maybe they want to bump those numbers up before one of those drones flies into a building and really incentivize people to come back and get it. Thank you, Rick D. Sent that out of an airplane. If you're falling out of the airplane, Rick D, and you see them, let us know. Or just call them and you'll get the 5G. Hey, Kirsten Ann. Kirsten Ann. What's going on, Kirsten Ann? Looks like a new name in the house. Yeah, Gateway Pundit. Just falsely accused GOP electors fight back file. That's another good one. So I think I've already got some stuff I'm kicking around for tomorrow morning. There was a good Arizona decision that just came down. Not a lot of meat and potatoes around that one, but a good one. And then I think in Michigan, they're suing Dana Nessel. Dana Nessel indicted a bunch of people. She tried to be like Big Fani out there, but she's just not as big as Fani. Fani's one of a kind. So Dana tried to go and prosecute people in Michigan for the same thing, just like our stupid Attorney General Chris Mays did. And they all copy and pasted each other's homework. They're like the Spice Girls, you know, they like assemble together, like, yeah, and dance and sing and do the thing. And she lost her case, just like Chris Mays did, just like Fani Willis did, because they're all idiots. And now they're getting sued back. So maybe that's the one you're referencing. Kirsten Ann. Good to see you, Kirsten Ann. Thanks for saying what's up. And for the dono. Question Everything says, our Senate is almost as worthless as our Congress. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Senate is probably more worthless than Mike Johnson. John Thune is probably way more worthless than Mike Johnson. Johnson, at least, you know, well, you know, I can't really, you're right. You're about right. It's hard to tell. It's either or. Thank you, Question Everything. They're not getting anything done. At least in the House, they passed the SAVE Act, right? In the Senate, now they're just jerking us all around. Thank you, Question Everything. Philip Butler, what's happening? Says, you mean former Senator John Cornyn. Bye-bye, John. Bye-bye. 525. He is not helping himself at all. He is digging his hole deeper every single day. Yesterday, he put the hand in her face. Get out of here, peasant. I'm not answering your questions. And then somebody said, you can't do that to journalists on his team. And he said, fine, I'll just call them influencers. You're a paid influencer. It's like the same thing. So, yeah. I hope Texans see that loud and clear and understand that's how he thinks about them, because she's asking questions that we care about and he's writing them off like it doesn't matter and not even offering a good argument. Okay, Mike Lee, Josh Hawley, they get these questions and they just say, like, you're a senator. You have to deal with this stuff. You can't get annoyed. It's like getting annoyed at your dog or something. Like, it's a dog, right? I'm not saying that these journalists are like that, but like, your job is to not snap. Period. And if you snap, if you lose control or you become insulting, then you have failed, period. And John is like failing day after day. The pressure is too much for him. He realizes Ken Paxton is coming on that booty. He's not happy about it. Doan. Hey, shout out Patrick Byrne. DC Insider Patrick Burns. Danger Close is the Dominion Smartmatic roadmap spanning the globe. Strongly suggested reading. Is it a book? Danger Close or Danger Close is the Dominion Smartmatic roadmap spanning the globe. Strongly suggested reading. Thank you for that, Doan. Looks like a great suggestion. Yeah, shout out to Patrick Byrne, man. He keeps digging on this stuff. Doan, you're the man. Thanks for being a membo and for the suggestion. Hey, Arc Dragon is here. Ooh, wow. Looks like Game of Thrones. If states are, quote, so concerned about people not being able to get ID to register to vote, they can pass laws to make it easier, such as make it free and do drives to do so. Yeah, but the act already has an exit for that, right? You can already just basically cast like a provisional ballot. And that happens from time to time, right? You get a mail-in ballot, you lose it, you go to vote in person, you show up, they say, oh, we can't give you a ballot, we mailed it to you. You say, oh, I don't have it. They say, well, we can't give you 2 ballots, so here, fill out this provisional. We'll wait to see if your ballot comes back. If it doesn't, we'll count your provisional. Your vote's going to count either way. Might count a little bit later because we're going to put it in this provisional segment, and we'll count those if we need to count them. But you still get your voice. That is an option. Sounds like it's already in there. Arc Dragon, thank you for the nice dono. But some states are not so concerned, right? They're actually more concerned about getting as many people into those polls as quickly as possible. Doesn't matter if they should be there or not. And if you start having to have one person, one ballot, and you start validating that aggressively, then it prevents dead people from voting. It prevents it prevents their voters and the polls from being rigged. Arc Dragon, you're the man. Thank you. Chubby, sure seems to me that SCOTUS prefers to sit in the judiciary, that chair, you see in the hotel rooms. Yeah. For a lot of these issues. Oh, gosh, that chair. Oh, that's a wild one. The judiciary chair, where they just sit and observe Americans getting abused. Yeah, Chubby, I think that's what you're saying. Hey, what's happening? Winrika in the house. Thank you, Winrika, for being a membo. Says, if Somalia is so bad that we need to take anyone who wants to come, then do we just need to be in control of Somalia? Well, Minnesota has basically become Somalia. So their flag resembles the Somalian flag. They bend over backwards for the Somalians and bend over forwards for them too. And Tim Walz excuses it. They have more political power than any other contingent there, it seems. And they're catered to. But if Somalia is so great, my argument is, why don't they go to Somalia and just go there? Like, why do they need to come to America and then scream at us that we stole this land from them? They're stealing our land from us. And then call us racist. Hey, Spuds is here. The heck's going on over here? 2 Eyes, Purple, Gray Goose, Eater, Fani, and P. Diddy must have the same tailor. Oh, yeah, looks like Fani. Oh, maybe that's her inspiration. It's like Diddy in the purple. And that's pretty funny. 2 Eyes, that sounded like a Dr. Seuss thing. Fani Willis, 2 Eyes, Purple, Gray Goose, People Eater, Fani Willis. Nice. Spuds in the house. Hey, Funny Hat Enjoyer shared this one. We just lost a valuable strategic asset and even a more valuable 6 crew members. It appears it collided with another refueling aircraft, and one was able to safely land while the other went down over Iraq, besides the obvious tragic loss of life. This is a big deal for the Air Force. These planes they're able to go around the world. Man, I almost said it a bad word. Loss of U.S. KC-135 over Iraq. U.S. Central Command is aware of an incident of loss of a U.S. KC-135 refueling aircraft. The incident occurred in a friendly airspace during Operation Epic Fury. Rescue efforts are ongoing. 2 aircraft were involved in the incident. One of the aircraft went down, not due to hostile or friendly fire. Thank you for the heads up on that. Prayers up for our service members. Prayers up for our families of service members. I hope that they're alive, but it sounds like you're saying they're not. So I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you, Funny Hat Enjoyer, for the heads up on that. Prayers up for them. Hey, Smith-Munt Act 2013, Rob, allows the media to lie. Yeah, and I think it allows our government to propagandize us, right? So like our CIA can run operations on us, which they absolutely are. Just look around. Everything we see is propaganda. Hard to tell what's true or not. There's bots everywhere. Every single post is just filled with bots in the replies. It's programming. We have to watch everything with an extremely skeptical eye. Thank you, BNS Systems, for the dono. Smith-Munt, yep. We're being brainwashed by our own government. Off-label podcast. Van hits White House barricade. Residue found in a storage locker linked to the New York City attack. 2 pew-pews and multiple synagogues attacked. Lots to talk about, and it doesn't sound good. Be careful with your trip. Thank you, Off-Label. Yeah, this morning on the member stream, we had like 3 or 4 different reports throughout the stream. Active shooter. Look at the cables. It's over. Active shooter. Something else. Attack on this. Attack on that. It's like, what is going on out there? Be safe, my friends. Thank you, Off-Label. Off-Label's right next door. Thank you for the dono. Off-Label podcast. Sounds like you may be covering some of those things. Thank you, Off-Label. We appreciate that. Hey, Rick D, they're $125,000 per drone, and they sold 4 of those things. Oof. They are AI-powered intelligence and surveillance drones. Yikes. So how does that happen? How does somebody just walk in and walk off with those? Pretty insane. Hey, Just Me is here. Talk about a reason to put someone on the no-fly list. You can't be detained at an airport if you're not flying anywhere. It's a pathological liar convention on Capitol Hill. And they all just buy it. They all just say, well, they're all predispositioned to think that ICE is arresting citizens. They've been brainwashed into that, speaking of intelligence operations. And then once the truth comes out, nobody pushes back on it. And this story is going to get buried. It's not going to turn into Juicy Smollett. They're doing the smart thing and shutting up, not talking to anybody about it. Juicy was going around talking to all the media. He had a full trial over the whole thing. She should be charged if there is evidence she made it up. And from our perspective, there's plenty of evidence for that. Will they? No, because she was directionally accurate. She was propagandizing on the right side. Even Juicy got off with a light touch. Just Me, thank you for the dono, my man. Thanks for being a member. We appreciate you. One old guy says, bunny rabbits with Nathan's footlong hot dogs in a Fani, in a Hot Pocket blanket. Oh, I think I know what you were talking about over there. Oh, gosh, the disgusting image and visual and everything. Thank you, one old guy, for the dono, though, and the horrifying comment. Let's see what else is happening over here. We got some locals comments. We'll check X. Sorry, X, I missed you yesterday. My apologies. And Rob G. Fan says, Rob, I hate to tell you, but you're not going to have a lot of time for weightlifting when you have a baby. Pfft, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. I don't wish for milestones like sleeping through the night or walking because it goes into flash. Enjoy every minute. I had one at 40 and one at 43. Hey, I'm going to be 40. I'm having one at 40. This is my son, Dallas. He'll be leaving for college in a few months. And that's the other thing. So the other reason we're going early tomorrow is because we've got like a whole bunch of appointments, baby appointments tomorrow afternoon. So, what's it called? What's it called? Ultrasound. We're doing that tomorrow. Like the 20-week ultrasound is happening tomorrow. So I expect to have my mind completely blown in further than it's already been blown. Also, this is my son. He'll be leaving for college in a few months. Shout out to your boy. And also, this is his baptism picture. Every time I look at it, I think, go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Beautiful. That traditional Irish baptism outfit was so heavy. I am laying under the blanket behind him, holding him up. You have no idea what a blessing you're in for and how much joy. Best to you both. Man, Rob G. Fan, thank you for that. We're super excited. It's your boy. Hey, look at that, America. Shout out to your boy, Rob G. Fan's boy in the house. Full American getup, man. Looking good. He's going to college? Look at that. Shout out, man. That's great. That's great, man. Shout out. Thanks for sharing that. Congratulations on being an awesome father, for loving your boy, and for raising him up right, man, to love America. He's off to college. And that's going to be a whole new experience for you both. So, Rob G. Fan, thank you very much, man. We're super excited about it. And we'll should have some new ultrasound images tomorrow. Hey, Rob G., one more thing. Men always want sons and women always want daughters, but in my experience, it's daddy's girl and mama's boy. My son at 17 is my best friend. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's awesome. People are asking me about that. Like, you want a boy or a girl? I'm like, I don't really have a strong pull either way, Like, I kind of like the idea of like boy, girl. So, like you have the protector to like beat everyone off kind of thing. But, I don't really have a strong pull. We have a girl. I'm going to be thrilled. We have a boy. I'm going to be thrilled. And we're not finding out until that little creature comes out. Rob G., thank you for that, man. Really appreciate that. We're very excited. Hey, what's up, Cohen? We're going to be in D.C. from 3/23 to 3/27. My wife, our little man, and we were invited for a tour at the White House. Whoa, that's awesome. It will be really cool to meet you in person and treat you to a coffee. I can tell you all about the Iraq-Iran war, the invasion of Kuwait, the June 1981 attack in Israel on nuclear facility. It is all very similar to the current war in Iran. Just a reminder, I was one of the Saddam officers who fled Iraq after the invasion of Kuwait. Cohen, we'd love to do that, brother. 100%. Yeah, hit me up. Last time we were in D.C., we met up with some folks and we had a great time, and like a really great time. Like you guys are awesome, just to be clear. You guys are awesome. And you may not understand like how awesome you are. We had an event in Vegas. We had a room of like 60, maybe 70 people from the Watcher fam. Everyone was awesome. It was such a fun time. Everybody just connected instantly. Like, we share good values. We're all just good people. You're a good person just by virtue of being here. And like, I mean that through and through. So it would be an honor. Send me an email and we'll do it. We'll be there. We should be there. We'll be like just getting there. Like, we'll be just getting there and kind of settling in, but 100% we can break away, grab a lunch or, you know, a coffee or a dinner or something like that. That would be fun. Cohen, shoot me an email, my man, and we'll do it. That'll be fun. And thank you for even the suggestion. The MAGA country. Yeah, we got the MAGA country people, man. All right, so locals, friends, thank you for those comments. We had one old guy shared this one. 50 to 51% of U.S. BP agents and approximately 19 to 30% of ICE agents are Hispanic. Right. And Homeland workforce includes 45,000 Hispanic or Latino employees, representing almost over 1/5 of its total full-time staff. Yeah, I think even Joe Rogan mentioned that the other day. He's like, why are the Hispanics signing up for Homeland to deport the other Hispanics? You know? Well, it's because they're Americans, and this is America. And it's not about race or ethnicity or national origin. It's about the sovereignty and the integrity of our country. And it's about values, and it's about, in many ways, culture. Like, if you're going to come here and you're going to have a foreign culture and not actually be un-American, then just because you have a signed document that says, I'm a citizen, it doesn't make you an American. I know they want to say that, but it's just not, you just get a slip of paper and you're like, well, I'm a dentist now or something. It's not how that works. You got to actually know how to grind teeth out. One old guy, every American has stopped paying since the paycheck of the U.S. citizen Hispanics in Homeland. Sounds bigoted to me. I did see a headline about that. Like, many Democrats are not paying their taxes, or maybe a lot of people are not paying their taxes because they're like, why? What's it going to? For what? One old guy, thank you for that. This is not legal advice. Follow the law. Tim Jake. Hey, referring to the KC-135, I used to work on those. The way out is open the crew entry hatch and jump. The crew does not routinely wear parachutes, so they have to get and put on the chute before jumping. Yeah, so like there's no ejection seats is what you're saying. It's like a big refueling tanker or something. And that's horrifying. So we pause, we pray for our service members, we pray for their families. We hope the story isn't what it sounds like and have hope that there's some goodness that comes out of it, but it may be a tragedy. So thank you, Tim Jake. Thank you for the details. Prayers up for them. Just think about like the horror, like, oh, you know, we're flying around all of a sudden. I just can't even imagine the horror. Okay. Thank you for that, Tim Jake. Makes me sick. Carzona. My mom and her hubby just visited me in Arizona from New Hampshire. I got them hooked on watching The Watchers. We listened every afternoon. Hey, shout out, Carizona. Shout out to mom and hubby from New Hampshire. Hopefully you guys are out there. Thank you for coming and saying hello to your beautiful daughter, Carizona. Hopefully you had a great time in Arizona. When was this? Not too long ago. Very nice weather down there. I'm not sure where you were at, but in Phoenix, beautiful time to be here. Hopefully you had safe travels. Thanks for joining our show and becoming a part of what we do here. Very grateful for you. Carizona, K-Bean, thanks for grabbing that one and flagging that one for us. Very nice. We love our growing family here. We absolutely love it. And it's great to have you here. All right, let's see what's happening on X. Then we'll call it a day. Mama G is here. She's upstairs with Mama A, my beautiful wife. And what they are doing is packing up the kitchen. So that's happening right now. Neuro D, thank you for sharing this over on X. B Torn, what's up, Jody? We've got some comments over here. Yeah, Jussie. Hey, this one from TJ King. Ask everyone that lives across the border. If I had $1 for every time I got sent to secondary for 60 or 90 minutes, give me a break. She got flagged like we all do. She got searched. She got released. Patriotic Americans leave secondary thankful that ICE and CBP is doing this to protect our people. There's Juicy. This is MAGA country when he was going after footlongs down there in Chicago. Common Sense Guy, heck yeah, love your work and your account. Thank you, Common Sense Guy. We love you back, man. Thank you for saying that. Thanks for watching over on X, following us over there. Ultra Deplorable, why is the biggest Fani in Georgia allowed to stay in her position? They love it. Georgia wants more Fani. And they say, they saw those eyelids, all the Georgians in Fulton County. They're like, yeah. Lots of people out there like, where do I get me some of that? Slapping it on with paintbrushes. Here you go. Yeah, she would be fired in the real world for money expenses alone, not to mention her involvement with Biden and Jack Smith. Yeah, she can't even come up with her own prosecution. She has to get fed it from the J6 committee, from Jack Smith, and from Biden's White House counsel. And then tells us all how she's so smart and intelligent and, strong woman. Hey, Jody, great show as always, Rob. The Watching the Watchers Leering Center is the bestest leering center ever. Man, we love leering some knowledge right here, Be safe on your travels across the country. We'll all be waiting on the travel lives. God bless. Thank you for that, Jody. Yeah, we're excited about it. First time traveling across the country like this in a straight line, basically. All across the I-40. Should be very fun, Jody. Thanks for the love. Thanks for being here. We love leering together. There's lots of leering going on. Hey, B. Torrent, a very insightful analytical look at Gen X. Its inferred application to politics, the state of conservatism, gaps of real leadership over the years, explains so much. If anything, it's something to bookmark and listen to on your trip to DC. Safe travels. Interesting. All things Gen X. Why is Gen X so sarcastic? It's a good question. Why is Gen X a lot of things? We'll have to figure that out. And thank you, NeuroD, for sharing our locals link. That is our members only community. Of course, you can also join up on YouTube, and we also stream over on Substack if you care to join us over there. And look at those eyelids, man. Golly. Something must be in the water out there in Fulton County. But all right, friends, it has been a beautiful stream. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for those great comments, the great donos, for the love and the support. We're going to pause here for not long. We'll be back in the morning. We'll get into it again. We'll close out the week strong. I think we've got some Arizona stuff queued up. Maybe we'll check out what's going on in Michigan. See what else is happening, but I'm sure is going to be a good one. So we'll be back in the morning. Until we're back here, thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for dropping a comment. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for sharing the video and all the things. And thank you to our amazing mods and meme smiths. We got K Bean in the house, Muffin Rando, Carrie B, John, Donut Mind Me. We got Neuro D, Janik, Dog Digger, Geegum Geegum, Elliot, and just Rhonda, keeping things nice and orderly around here. Thank you so much for that, my friends. Thank you for being here. I hope that tonight you have the most peaceful and pleasant rest you can possibly imagine. You restore and you return tomorrow, because we are coming back here in the morning early, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern, to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night. Sleep very well. We'll see you right back here in the morning. Make it a great night, my friends. Talk to you soon, and bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide.